Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Nathan Duke and I am the new Director of Youth Ministries for Trinity. For those of you that were here last summer, you'd remember me because I was here as the youth intern with Hannah and they hired me full time. So now I'm doing this all the time. Unfortunately, this summer can't look like last summer because of the pandemic, so we can't all be together. But for this summer, every single Monday, I'm going to make one of these videos and send them out. They're going to be pretty quick. Less than 5 minutes. This one will be the longest one for sure because I have a lot of information to tell you. So the way it'll look is at the beginning of the video, I will do a short devotional, and at the end, I'll give you a journal prompt if you keep a journal and want to write in one of those, and I'll give you trivia questions. The trivia questions will be from everything about church on Sunday to the devotional video that you just watched to trivia about me or trivia about random stuff like today, video games, and also I'm going to include trivia about U.S. history because in college I was a history major. I'd love for you guys to be able to answer some of those questions. If you answer all those and email me the correct answer, I'll give you a gift. I'll mostly come to your house and deliver you probably a snack or something like that. Also, every week I'm sending out a challenge. So last week was do your best trick shot. And thank you for those of you that sent some in. I'm showing some of those at the end of this video. This week is going to be a house of cards building contest. So whoever can build the tallest house of cards is going to win. If you guys complete 5 challenges throughout the entire summer, you'll get a gift card. And if you win that week, you'll also get an extra gift. So, cool. So my email is theduke@trinityowasso.com, and I'm not great with videos, but for some reason I'm able to put it in. It's going to be right here. I don't know if that's going to happen, so I may be just pointing to nothing. So the devotionals this summer are going to be over a bunch of different topics. This week, the devotional is on identity. So many of you are probably familiar with the term, but for those of you that aren't, identity is everything that makes you, you. For example, people use things like religion, gender, their likes and dislikes, their personality, their appearance, and maybe even what they wear to form their identity. So imagine if someone comes up to you and asks you to tell them about you. What are the things you're going to say? So for me, something that I find my identity in is I love Taylor Swift. Yes, I love listening to Taylor Swift music. I've been to a couple of her concerts. I know all the lyrics to almost all of her songs. So that's, in some ways, a small part of my identity. Many of us try to define our identities because we don't know who we are, honestly. So we do things like online quizzes, like you do the Hogwarts quiz and figure out which house you're in. I'm unfortunately a Slytherin somehow. I promise I'm not evil. It just kind of ended up that way. Or some people take BuzzFeed quizzes and figure out what Disney princess they are. I haven't done that one yet, but I think I'm probably Kuzco, Emperor's New Groove. But anyway, all of this is really important, and we do these things because we want to know our identity. The biggest danger with identity, though, is that people use their identities and they make assumptions also about other people's identities, and they do this thing called stereotyping, where they say, oh, that person obviously has this identity, and therefore they like or dislike this, or they think one way or the other. So, for example, when I was in high school, part of my identity was I was on the track team. If I were to ask you what track events I did, you'd probably say long distance, right? I'm a skinny guy, and I probably look like a lot of the other long distance guys that are out there. The truth was, I was a sprinter. I did the 100 meter and 200 meter dash like Usain Bolt does in the Olympics. The funny thing was, I would show up to track meets, and I'd show up to these events, and people would look at me, and like the coordinators would say, are you sure you're at the right event? Because they'd look at me and they just assume, based on my identity, that I was not supposed to be running sprints. And I would get weird looks from other runners all the time because I didn't look like any of them. So a lot of the time, I would question whether I really should be sprinting. Like even coaches would say, are you sure you're supposed to be sprinting? Like, don't you want to try long distance? And I loved sprinting. I was actually really good at it. But it's just based on the identity of people that were normally sprinters. That wasn't me. The point of that story is to show you how people use their own identities and perceptions of other people's identities to make assumptions about both themselves and other people. And this isn't just a modern problem. A few thousand years ago, there's this guy that some of you know named Moses. Moses was a Jewish man living in Egypt. And when he was younger, the Pharaoh basically put out a threat on all the young kids. And so in order to protect Moses' mother sent him in a basket down the river, which was eventually picked up by Pharaoh's daughter. And so Pharaoh's daughter adopted Moses, basically, and Moses became Egyptian. So as he grew up, he was both Jewish by heritage and Egyptian by adoption. So those are two conflicting identities, because at the time, the Jewish people were slaves in Egypt. And so, eventually, as time went on, Moses grew up, and one day he saw an Egyptian man hurting a Jewish man. And in his anger, Moses killed the Egyptian man. And so the Jewish people were upset with him because they thought, oh, now the Egyptians are mad at us and they're going to make us work harder. And the Egyptians and Pharaoh were super mad at him because he killed an Egyptian. So both sides of Moses' identity were kind of swept away, and he ran away. He went to the desert and eventually became a shepherd, and that is when God appeared to him in the form of the burning bush. And so God tells Moses that he wants Moses to go back to Egypt and deliver the Jewish people from their slavery. Now you can imagine how insane that must have sounded to Moses. So he had these two identities, both gone. He creates a new one, and then God said, you know what, actually go back to that place where everyone hates you and go back to those identities. And the conversation between Moses and God went a little bit like this. It's in Exodus 3:10 through 12. And I'm reading from the ESV. So he says, "Come, I will send to Pharaoh that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" I said Israel weird. It's Israel out of Egypt. He said, "But I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you, that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." So Moses, if you notice here, he says, who am I to do this, right? He's thinking back to all this time. He's like, I am the worst person to do this. Like, everyone hates me back there. Like, that's not part of my identity. I've created this new identity, God. Please don't call me to this. But look at what God says in response. He says, "I am with you, you shall serve God." God knows Moses better than Moses does, better than anyone does. And he sees Moses not first and foremost as a Jewish man or an Egyptian man or as a shepherd in the desert, but as a man made in his image that he's calling to do his work on earth. What's important here is that God is claiming his ownership of Moses' identity and tells him his purpose. And often we, like Moses, find our identity in everything except God. You know, for me, growing up, it was what sports I'd play, it was what video games I played, it was what books I read, and who my friends were, and what classes I was in, and everything else. And then, I was like, yeah, I'm a Christian, you know. But all these things, when people ask me about myself, you know, I would say everything else, except for the Slytherin thing, because people think that's weird. But anyway, I want you to know that it's not a bad thing to find your identity in other things, but are those things before your identity in Christ, if you're a Christian? So what does that look like? That's actually your journal prompt for today. I want you to think about what it looks like day to day to find your identity first and foremost in Christ. And that's something I'd love for you guys to talk to your parents about. Ask them about their relationship with Christ and what it looks like for them to find their identity in Christ, because they've been doing that and trying to do it a lot longer than you guys have. And hopefully they're pretty wise in the area. So for a journal entry, you can do anything from writing on your phone to writing on the computer, or if you have a written journal, that's awesome. And if you like a written journal, you can email me at that same email that hopefully will go up again down here, and if not, it's in the description. I've always wanted to say that. But yeah, so if you want one, let me know, and I will deliver one to you, because I'd love for you guys to do journal entries this summer. So that's it. And I went a lot longer than I thought. They'll be a lot shorter in following weeks. So now is the trivia, which hopefully I will also have up somewhere here. I'm not great with video editing. Maybe I will be by the end of the summer. That could be fun. But the trivia. So, question 1. Remember, you're going to write these down in an email and email them to me. Your answers. Question 1. What psalm did Pastor Scott preach on this past Sunday? Question 2. Who was introduced to the congregation by Scott? Question 3. What sport did I talk about in today's devotional that I did in high school? Question 4. Which Old Testament character did I use as an example in the devotional? Question 5. What is the world's best-selling video game of all time? Question 6. What was the name of the first ever video game invented? Question 7. Who wrote the most words in the Bible? Question 8. How many days and nights did Noah and his family spend on the ark? Question 9. Here comes the U.S. history stuff. What year was the Declaration of Independence signed? In question 10, the French and Indian War was fought between who? Cool. So that's it for today. Oh, also, the challenge for this week is House of Cards. So remember, take a picture with you in it, so I know you built it, and email it to me. It's going to be the tallest one, whoever builds the tallest one before it falls over. So don't cheat. I don't know how you would. I guess if you glue your cards together, you ruin them, but don't do that. I don't know why I said that, because you guys are probably going to do that. But yeah, so thanks for watching. You don't have to like, comment, or subscribe. That'd be cool if you did. But I've just always wanted to say that also. So have a good day. I will see you guys on here next week. Bye.
There.